Hey guys, so welcome back to the Casa. So the other day when I went out to get stuff to make onion broth and what have you, I since I knew I was going to get a bunch of stuff, I went up to BJ's. It's a little bit of a ride from here, but I don't have to pay taxes and the prices are better. It's in Delaware as opposed to Maryland, so I don't have to pay Maryland sales tax. So when you're buying in bulk, the little bit of mileage actually saves. If you're buying one or two things, it's just not worth it in gas money to drive up there and stuff. So since I was up there, I picked up a bunch of stuff. And one of the things I picked up was hamburger. I go through a lot of hamburger here. Growing up, we used to raise our own beef, and because we had so many foster kids here, at one time we had 9 girls and 3 boys all living in the same house with one bathroom, and that got interesting. But that being said, we always had hamburger in the freezer, like a lot, and it was a staple. It was a go-to because it was cheap. Nowadays, meat is not cheap, as all of you guys know. So when I can get it a little cheaper, I try to. Right now, here in town, hamburger for 80% lean is running somewhere in the neighborhood of about, I think it was, let me look. Yeah, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of about 380 a pound or so right now, 370 to 380 a pound, depending on what you can find and where you can find it, for 80% lean. So while I was up at BJ's, I grabbed myself some hamburger. I grabbed a Lago beef, right? So this thing is 10 pounds. It's three. I mean, see this. It's a little cheaper, not a lot cheaper. It's $3.59 a pound. So I paid $35 for it, but that's still cheaper than when I can get it in town by about 10 cents a pound, 15 cents a pound, give or take. So to me, that was kind of worth it. But what do you do with 10 pounds of hamburger? Well, for me, I generally use hamburger about a pound at a time. There's some things I make with it. And that works out about right for just me. Is a pound at a time. It gives me some to eat, gives me some for the lunch or whatever the next day, and maybe at some point I'll show you some of the things that I make with it. The other thing I'm going to do is I want to make up some hamburgers later. That I saw the video on actually canning them, and I want to try it. I think it's it kind of interested me, so we'll see. But in the meantime, I got 10 pounds of hamburger sitting in the freezer taking up room. What do I do with it? Well, because this is 10 pounds, and I use it in 1 pound increments, I can divide this up, into 10 pieces. So what I did is I took my rusty dusty old tape measure. Now I've washed the outside of this already because I know people's hands on it and this and that and the other. So I washed the outside of it before I did this. Just mild soap and water just to get all whatever smudges on there off. Took my tape measure, measured it out. This works out to about 20 inches. And then I just divided it out. Now I've already done that with this one. I don't know if you can see them or not. I already did marks. So I have this already marked out into approximately 1 pound pieces. So what I can do is I can take my bread knife. Now this works a little better if it's partially froze, but I didn't have the time or the room in the big freezer to do that right now. So it's not partially froze, it's just, cold from the fridge. And basically I just slice on each of those marks. Now, it's not the straightest slice, and it doesn't have to be perfect. These aren't going to be perfect 1 pound a piece. They're going to be approximates, but I just go through and I slice it up. You know, some are going to be a little longer than others. It's like I say, I'm not perfectly accurate with this, but you know, it's probably close within 5-10%. You know, each one, and I just go through. And whack it all out. And now, without having to slop around with a scale and slop around in a pan with oat, take a ball out and take a, you know, and measure it, take a ball out and measure it. There it is, wham bam, it's done. Now I have 10 1-pound packs of hamburger. Now, I don't leave it like that in these tubes. What I do is I ball each of these up, and then I wrap them in a, you know, in saran wrap, and then I put them in a baggie and they go in the freezer. So, you know, you just slip off the plastic, you know, ball it up a bit. It doesn't have to be perfect, you know, you're not making a giant meatball. And I'm going to go ahead and ball all of them up at the same time so that I don't have to have the greasy part and then back to the, and then trying to handle the plastic wrap and then back to grease and then plastic wrap, blah, blah, blah. And again, they don't have to be perfect. I'm just basically dressing up the edges where I cut, because this stuff is already pretty well packed in here. Get this knife out of the way. Now, most of this is going to go into baggies and then into the freezer. But like I say, I want to make some hamburgers with some of this, so I'm going to probably leave about half of it out so that I can experiment with it. Also, you know, it's going to be dinner time eventually, right? Now, as a kid, I would probably be sitting here picking pieces off and eating it. I used to do that all the time. I don't recommend eating raw hamburger, but let's be honest, we've all done it. And I still do it. It's just the way it is. This is the end pieces. The end pieces are a little more of a pain in the butt because, you know, they get down in the cracks and stuff. I try to get as much of that out as I can, you know, waste not, want not. But I'm not going to spend all day, you know, cleaning off a microgram of burger off of it just to, you know, for the value of the half a penny that is. There we go, that one came out pretty good. Last one. All right, so they're all rounded off. Good enough, right? Stack these up out of the way, give ourselves some working room. Yeah, right there. All right. So now, the fun part, this stupid plastic wrap. I hate this stuff. I take it out of the box because look, that cutter thing it's for doo-doo anyway. It's not gonna, it doesn't cut. So I just basically lay out, hold the edge down, and tear it off, right? Because that way it's already flat on my working surface. Boom. Try to, you know, keep it as tight as I can. Get any air pockets out. Roll it up. Squeeze off the edges. There it is, right? We'll just go through and we'll do each of these. I'm even going to go ahead and do, man, I hate this stuff. It's a love-hate. It's a love-hate with this stuff. Now, obviously, these are not perfectly airtight packages. This is not going to last forever, you know, and be, I mean, it, you know, freezer burnt, what have you. If I was worried about that, though, I do have a food saver. I can suck the air out, what have you. This is not going to last. I mean, like I say, I go through a lot of hamburger. I cook a lot of stuff with it. Chili. Something we made when I was a kid called More, that my kids love. It's a pseudo hamburger helper. We just called it More when I was a kid. It's basically just brown gravy mix, macaroni, and hamburger. And you mostly cook the macaroni. And then you add the gravy mix, you know, the gravy mix and the hamburger to it, and let it cook the rest of the way, and it soaks up the gravy into the macaroni, and it's just tasty, you know. So we always wanted more, so that's what we called it, was More. I have something else that I make occasionally, and call it Stuff, because it's stuff. And that's macaroni and cheese, peas, and hot dogs all mixed together. You know, doesn't sound great, but believe it or not, I think it's pretty good. And for just me, you know, I can make it in one pot, and because I can boil the hot dogs and the macaroni at the same time, drain it out, add the peas, add the stuff for the macaroni and cheese, and there you go. Safe dishes. And as much as I like to cook, and I do like to cook, and I can cook well, can cook good. Bob can cook good. I made my first souffle at 12. I mean, I know how to cook. But for just me, and just needing to fuel the machine, as it were, you know, one pot cooking, whatever. When I was in the Army, I used to, anytime I traveled, I took a rice cooker with me, and ate in my room a lot. Saved money that I could then, you know, use for other things. So like I say, even though I'm going to take about 5 pounds of this, 2, 3, 4, this is, yeah, and I'm gonna leave it out. I'm gonna go ahead and package it, just because I don't want it sitting for too long in the fridge, in case I don't get to it right away. Again, waste not, want not. I don't want it to go bad. But in the next, shit. Every once in a while, that happens. But, you know. Alright. Well, these ones are going in the fridge anyway. So, I'm not going to get too picky about it being as double wall wrapped as the other stuff. The stuff I put in the freezer, because it gets banged around in the freezer a bit, I like to make sure that it's kind of doubled up. We'll set that one off to the side. I picked up a big ass roll of this while I was up at BJ's as well. This and aluminum foil. So I got both for days now. So once I get this done, what we're gonna do is we will put this in Ziplocs, the large size Ziplocs. We'll suck out the air. I've got a straw. I'll show you how I get the air out of these. And then in the freezer it's gonna go. And this won't even go in the big freezer. It will go in the kitchen freezer, in the little freezer, because it'll get used that quickly. Especially right now, summer's coming, you know, or well, spring's coming. You know, so you got to kind of pre-plan a little bit with this, depending on what you're doing. If you're going to make burgers with it, if you're going to make meatloaf with it, you're going to want to take it out prior and let it thaw out. Now, one thing I will tell you is, because it's frozen, because it's exposed to air, it will oxidize. The meat will get a little brown, you know, just from sitting, but doesn't make it any less good. It just may make it a little less attractive when you're putting it on the grill. But let's face it, when it comes off the grill, it's cooked. It's going to be, you know, black and gray. So I can generally get 5 packs, sometimes 6, in one of these bags. I'm going to split this up, so I'm going to do 5 and 5 because, like I said, 5 is going to stay out. And I just put them in 2s, and then 1 at the top. Sometimes you can get 6 in here. I don't need to get 6 in here. So, where's my straw? I know I have a straw here. I've got a straw specifically to do this. All right, there it is. It's in the bag. Stick your straw on the edge. Bring your zippy thing all the way as far as you can. Get as much air as you can out, because lung capacity. Suck the air out, close the bag. Now, obviously there's still air in there, but it's a lot less. It's going to take up a lot less room in the freezer. There you go. That one's for the fridge. We'll do the second one, and it'll go in the freezer. So down in the corner. Kind of, if you roll these in, you can get them into the corners better. If you go from like an edge and press, they will compress a little bit. So I go, you know, one all the way to the edge of the bag, press it into the edge, press the other one into that one, and kind of roll it into that corner. Last one goes in. Try to make sure my flaps are over so they don't come unrolled. Now, I know they make bags for the food savers that do this, and you just click it on, but why spend the money? These are cheaper bags. I get these at the dollar store, as a matter of fact, I think. No, these ones are Wally World bags. Same difference. It basically just depends on where I am in the neighborhood at the time. So there you go. And I just gotta clean up the clean up the little bit of trash. You know, it's relatively easy to clean up that way. And there you go. Those will go in the freezer. And Bob's your uncle. All right, guys. Just wanted to kind of share with that. You know, if you can, save the money on the things you can, kind of thing. All right, I'll talk to you later. Stay loco. Bye.